Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Praise to Allah and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present the result of my research. I respect Miss Yulmiati MPD as a lecturer in the Quantitative Research in Language Education course. I am Stevenika Gabriela Aurellia from the English Education Department and will present my research entitled The Effect of Mind Mapping Technique to Student Reading Skill at Junior High School 1 Kayutanam. Okay, we start discuss about Chapter 1 Background of the Problem. English is an important subject in this global. English is also compulsory subject in many countries. Especially in Indonesia, English taught as a foreign language. There are 4 skills in learning English, namely speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Which one? Reading is one of the language skills that must be learned and mastered by students to get information from the text. One of these techniques that helps in acquiring reading skill in mind mapping. The learner transfers the text into a visual map to demonstrate the relationship among the text's main ideas and its sub-ideas, and to integrate the new information to his or her prior knowledge. Mind mapping use consists word, picture, color, association, and other visual aids to convey the essence of an idea or information. By constant use of mind mapping, learners learn to fill in the gaps and increase their cognitive skill. Mind mapping tools is a complementary to that help their thinking, comprehending, and recalling skill. The use of mind mapping is to help the student to comprehend text easily. In this research, the writer will focus the problem only on the use of mind mapping as alternative technique for teaching English and how to improve reading comprehension in Junior High School 1 Kayutanam. Next is identification of the problem. To identify the existing problem, the researchers observed the application of English learning to student teaching and learning process in grade 1 Junior High School 1 Kayutanam, and then interviewed the English teacher. After making observation and interview, researchers obtained information about the source of the problem related to the teaching and learning process of English in the classroom. Source of problem found in class that contributed to low performance in reading is classified into 3 categories. There are teacher, student, and the media. Based on the research background, the researcher can identify many the problem is why the reading skill of Junior High School 1 Kayutanam students are still low. There are follows. The first, have students got the technique in mastering reading? The second, how they understand good reading technique? Number 3, are students able to read good perhaps? Number 4. Students have sufficient exposure to the language. 5. They have enough reading practice. 6. Does the teacher give clear and specific instruction to the student? 7. Does the teacher control and monitor the process of reading activities in the process of understanding the material? 8. Does student use appropriate technique in organizing their ideas? 9. Is the use of mind mapping able to improve student understanding of the material? 10. Is the use of mind mapping technique as surefire solution in increasing student interest in learning? Limitation of the problem in this quantitative experimental research. The researcher focuses on the effectiveness of the mind mapping to improve the student reading skill to the fact that the organization of the student reading skill were in unsatisfactory. In addition, the researchers use mind mapping to increase the student ability in organizing the ideas, since mind mapping is interconnected with the way how the brain organizes information. The use of mind mapping is also intended to accelerate the fluency of the writing ability of students with low IQ, because mind mapping not only demands students to rely on their IQ but also to dig up and use optimally what they already have in their mind. Descriptive type of text is the only monologue text type which is taught to the student in junior high school 1 Kayutanam. Since the population of the research is the 7th grade student, then the research only focuses his research on the improvement of student reading skill of descriptive text. Okay, the next page is formulation of the problem based on the background of the problem. Identification of the problem and limitation of the problem. The problem of this research could thus be formulated as follows. How does the use of the mind mapping technique improve the reading skill of students in junior high school 1 Kayutanam? Okay, the next page is hypothesis. Hypothesis can be formulated as follows. The first is mind mapping technique is more effective than modeling technique in teaching reading skill. The second is students with high IQ have better reading skill achievement than students having low IQ. The third is there is an interaction between teaching technique and student IQ in reading skill. Mind mapping technique is more suitable for students with high IQ, while modeling is more appropriate for low IQ students. Okay, next purpose of the research. The first, finding out whether mind mapping technique is more effective than modeling technique in teaching reading skill. The second is finding out whether students with high IQ have better reading achievement than students having low IQ. The third is finding out whether there is interaction between technique teaching. significance of the research. The results of the analysis are expected to be beneficial both theoretically and practically. The first, theoretically, the results of the analysis are expected to enrich the study of mind mapping. The second is practically. For teachers, this research showed their understanding about the concept of the mind mapping, therefore will help the teacher to increase the student ability in English. And it was expected that the teacher could improve their technique of reading interesting and effectively so that the student would enjoy the study. B. For other researchers, the research of this analysis are expected to provide significant contribution in terms of using mind mapping, so this research can use as reference for another analysis. C. For the student as the subject of the research, it was expected that the student would take the advantage of the research. They could learn how to improve their skill of reading. Okay, the next is definition of the key term. To avoid multiple inappropriate interpretation, accordingly, the definition of key term are mind mapping refers to a diagram used to represent word ideas, text, or other items related to the topic and arranged radically around a center of keyword. In the classroom activities, the researcher teaches the student with mind mapping techniques to make them easily put words from center words, which related to the learning material teacher understanding. In this research, teacher understanding means the teacher ability in applying concepts of the mind map, both principle and procedure of teaching using mind map. During teaching and learning process, teacher perception is the meaning a teacher attaches to the environmental input he or she recycles from experience. In other words, it is the process of a teacher becoming aware of something through the sense. It's also the process through which a teacher gets information about the world around him or her. Using the senses, okay, the next page is we come to the chapter 2. In this chapter 2, discuss about the first is theoretical reading. Reading is the process of looking at a series of written symbols and getting meaning from them. When we read, we use our eyes to receive written symbol, letter, functional and mark and spaces. And we use our brain to convert them into word, sentences, and paragraphs that communicate something to us. Reading could be a detached ability which needs intelligence handled in comprehending the meaning in a range to induce data or talk from compuses content. Understanding the meaning of the perusing expertise, counting the capacity in reading from many experts who have the first C, focuses of C is unquestionably critical for the educator of reading. It will be available information to conduct a reading lesson within the classroom, a great reference to memorize approximately how to begin with the reading aptitude. More importantly, O'Connor 2017. 2. Mind mapping. Mind map is the most effective and efficient way to enter, store, and remove the data from to the brain. The system works based on the natural working of our brains, so it can optimize all the potential and capacity of the human brain. Chahyani et al. 2015. Okay, next is theoretical review. Reading comprehension, it is basic sense. It's the process of understanding and interpreting text in order to get some specific or detailed information. Reading is an interactive process which involves the reader, the text, and the writer. In getting the main point of the text, the reader has to know what skill in reading comprehension are in increasing the student comprehension of the text. It is mainly recommended for the teacher to teach reading material which material is interesting, motivating, and impressing, so that the students are interestedly learn reading comprehension. Mind mapping is a powerful tool to help learners develop their skill. Including reading comprehension revealed that mind mapping is not only appropriate but also helpful in improving student reading comprehension because it helps to the student easier to understanding text and make them more creative and imaginative in drawing picture and symbol and enable them to see the relationship of the content visually and search for keyword in answer to question. Mind mapping can be used to improve reading skill comprehension in both fiction and non-fiction text and across a variety of genre. Mind mapping works because they give the reader another way to process information. See also argued that for non-fiction text, the mind mapping should contain the main idea in the center, branching out the supporting ideas and facts. If using a mind mapping, students should be asked to use the center of the mind mapping for the title of the book or piece of the text. In short, mind mapping can be employed in numerous stages in the reading task. Okay, next, rationale. This research also aimed to know the student feedback about the use of mind mapping in learning and reading. The data were collected by using a reading comprehension test and a questionnaire. The results of this research showed that there was a significant improvement in student reading comprehension, and there were also significant differences in reading comprehension between the students who are taught by using mind mapping and those who were in conclusion. Mind mapping could improve the student reading The independent variable of this research is mind mapping, and the dependent variable are reading comprehension. And the last part is hypothesis. Based on the above review of related literature and the rationale, the hypothesis can be formulated as follows. The first is mind mapping procedure is more compelling than modeling procedure in instructor reading skill. The second is students with low IQ have superior reading accomplishment than understanding having low IQ. There is an interaction between education procedure and student IQ in improving reading. The third is mind mapping procedure is more appropriate for understudies with low IQ, where the modeling is more fighting low IQ understanding. This is more or less a presentation of my research. Sorry if there are words that are not pleasing. I ended. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.